Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Is that me? Am I on? Because if I am, I'm not hearing anything. Hello? I didn't hear the intro. Are we up?
I can hear you.
Hi, Suze.
Hi.
I don't know if anyone else can hear us.
I heard a beep.
You heard a beep, but you didn't hear the in. Thank you. I'm being told. That's okay. Being told I'm on.
We can hear that too.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
That was odd. I was staring out my window and such a beautiful day. So anyway, November 22nd, hey, tomorrow's Mom's anniversary.
That's right. So that she was born. 43.
41. No, 40.
No, no, because that's
43.
It's 43. So
Well,
what is that? 79 years.
Yeah, 79 years. Oh, well, whatever. Anyway, sorry, this is not a good beginning. Oh, God. So you're not into soccer, are you? Do you feel like it's like we're being forced into soccer?
No, but a lot of people are into soccer. I'm just not into soccer.
I'm not either.
And I'm really not into soccer where they chose to put it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I don't know why they insist on glorifying these awful places.
Because these awful places have tons of money that they give them. They buy their way in. That's why. And then another oil-rich nation, Saudi Arabia, unbelievably, apparently, beats Argentina today. Did you know that?
No.
Okay, so the first match this morning, or to us this morning, Saudi Arabia beat Argentina, which is, some people are saying, the hugest upset ever in World Cup soccer. So I hate it too, because that means the Saudis are happy. Saudis are happy. They knocked off Argentina. That's with Lionel Messi. That's like the greatest, that like they were supposed to perhaps win it all, ranked third in the world. The Saudis they're like down in number 50 something or something. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Anyway, I did notice that the president of Liberia's son is the guy on our team that that scored the first goal.
The president of Liberia's son?
Yeah, he's been playing
on the American.
It has been playing since he was a kid with the American soccer, juvenile league.
Why?
And I don't know. He was going to school here apparently, and he was in the league here. And came up through the ranks here.
Well, there you go.
And his father was also a soccer player.
Uh-huh. So you say, so I said, so here we are talking about soccer.
Which we know nothing about.
We know nothing about it and we're not interested in, but there, you had some information, I had some information, because it's just being covered just so. I mean, by the time this thing narrows down, I'll be like a rabid, salivating soccer fan.
Well, we both also read everything that's in front of us.
Well, that's true. That's true. That's what it is. God. So anyway, I read. I've got.
Speaking of reading everything that's in front of us.
Yeah, that's right. I read something that was so mind blowing to me. Just when you think you've seen it all, of all the people, the Republicans that are now positioning themselves to potentially be the standard bearer if they can get around Trump. One of them is his former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, right?
Yeah.
And Mike Pompeo said this. This is from an interview. I'm going to read it to you. You cannot even believe it. Here it is. He was asked, what are the central issues that any Republican should be running on? And he says, limited government, expanded sets of freedoms, except for women and their reproductive health, of course. Protecting the
or black people and their votes.
Yeah, whatever. Protecting the capacity of people to practice their faith, because Christians are under terrible restraint. Because we're bombing all of those white people churches. Yeah, it's something. I so feel for white Christians, white heterosexual Christians.
Is it our lack of empathy that we can't see their trials and tribulations?
I don't know, Suze. I always thought I was pretty empathic. Anyway, he says, and making sure we don't teach our kids crap in schools. And then this is the part. He says, I get asked, who is the most dangerous person in the world? Is it Chairman Kim? Is it Xi Jinping? No. The most dangerous person in the world is Randy Weingarten.
Yeah, I have nightmares about that guy.
It's a woman.
Well, that's my point.
Randy Weingarten. Now, some of you are saying, that's the most dangerous person in the world. Why don't I even know who that is? Now, I know
that's a woman, right?
That is a woman. That is a Jewish woman. And she heads the New York Teachers Union.
Oh, of course. I should have known that she was a teacher who headed a teachers union.
Yeah, okay.
The New York head of teachers unions have always been the scariest people in the whole world. Wasn't Saul Alinsky one of them?
No, he wasn't. He was in Chicago for one thing.
Okay. Same kind of, but the same sort of.
No, you're thinking of a guy named Shankar, I think. There was a guy named Shankar who was head of the schools. But anyway, Randy Weingarten has been there forever. And so Pierce Pompeo calling her the most dangerous person in the world, and then doubles down. He says it's not a close call, that she's more dangerous than
Putin,
than Kim in North Korea. I mean, this is a kind of over-the-top crapola that you just... Who is the most likely to take the republic down, he goes on? This is Pompeo. The filth they teach our children.
Filth?
Yeah.
That's what we call the truth these days, filth. Well, that's because white Christians have been making the history all these years. So, yeah, it's filthy.
Unbelievable. So Weingarten tweeted, this is how I know about it because she sees it, and says, I mean, in this day and age, she sees that
as a threat.
Understandably, as a threat.
Yeah.
Because as somebody listening to him who says she is the most dangerous human being in this world.
Might decide to save the world. Yes, they just might.
Uh-huh. And these guys just can't stop doing that. They just can't stop themselves. And then you get to Colorado Springs. And what happened there? And somebody pointed out, that's who I guess watches Fox News to see what they're up to, that Fox News is barely reporting this story. They're totally obsessed with the 4 blonde kids in Idaho who were murdered. They're absolutely not dealing with this story because, as somebody said, it just doesn't in any way fit into their narrative.
No, it doesn't. First of all, two guys. The hero was in high heels.
The guy with a gun is stopped by a guy without a gun and a drag queen in stilettos. Right?
Well, he and a retired army dude that was protecting his family. Yes.
The retired army dude, though, doesn't fit. Because
what's he doing in a place like that?
Why would he be there? He's a macho, heterosexual male, married with children, and he'd gone there because at his daughter's suggestion, because I guess she wanted to see the drag show, or a friend of hers was in the drag show, whatever. So they went. He had never been to a drag show, and he was enjoying it a lot. Thought it was fun. And see, the people at Fox and the people who listen to them, they can't process that a married, heterosexual, bemedaled, military guy,
veteran.
Yeah, thank you. That was what I was looking for. Would choose to go to a gay club with his family and be having a good time. They can't take that in. And it also blows up the only thing we need to stop a bad guy with a gun is the good guy with a gun. Well, none of the good guys had guns in this thing, and they stopped him. Of course, he killed 5 people in a few seconds, but that's America.
Yeah, but they stopped him before he got to the place where a lot of the people were.
Unbelievable. And I'll tell you this. This is a guy who was in combat, but never up this close. He was in Afghanistan. He was in Iraq. And he said he never smelled cordite before. He'd never been that close to gunfire. Not till he came home to the United States. And no one, and this happens to our veterans all the time, no one should have to survive the battlefield and then come home and be under combat-like assault.
Yep.
And to see carnage around them.
Yeah, it happens every day. It happens every day in the good old USA.
And this guy had, when he came back, like so many others, he had post-traumatic stress. And his wife is very concerned now, and I don't blame her, that this will kick it off. For that matter, she now will have PTSD.
Well, it might kick her off. It might kick it off, but let me tell you that the role that he played in this thing is actually, in terms of trauma, helpful because he acted and he was successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that does help. A lot of PTSD is the feeling of helplessness.
Mm-hmm. And it's big shock to find out that the gunman's grandfather is a Republican legislator in California.
Right. Although this guy is Canadian. What? No. Sorry, I'm getting the guy that assaulted.
Yeah,
I'm getting my assaulters all mixed up. Well, that's the Pelosi assaulter is from Canada.
Yeah, he's an illegal.
I mean, I just can't keep my tragedies straight. I'm sorry.
Oh, wait.
And with all these interchangeable 20-year-old white guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of illegal aliens, something else I just found out, and this again on Twitter, which is not what it was.
E.T. was an illegal alien.
Mm-hmm. That's a bit of a stretch, Suze.
He just didn't come over the southern border.
Yeah. A screenshot of some Fox News broadcast shows some guy, I don't know their anchors, some anchor looking really serious. Behind him on the the picture is of Giselle Fetterman.
Yeah,
Fetterman's wife.
Yeah.
And it turns out, why should I be surprised? I'm not. That Fox News is paying a ridiculous amount of attention to the wife of a just elected freshman senator, Giselle Fetterman. And the chyron under this serious-looking Fox anchor said, Giselle is acting like a squad member. So they've taken Giselle Fetterman, who is
of color,
a woman of color, born in Brazil, and they have already said she is in with Ilhan Omar, AOC, and the crowd, because they have to put her in the crowd. It's the other house. I mean, it doesn't matter.
And she's not an elected official. Are they? But wait a minute, they're getting her confused with what's her name, Thomas. So apparently they understand the importance and the power of wives.
Of a wife, Ginny Thomas.
Right?
They did say the chyron said Giselle is acting like a squad member. So this interest in her, and wait till, and I imagine they know that frankly she was an illegal. When she first came with her,
she was undocumented.
She was undocumented, so technically an illegal alien. Yeah. I don't know how she finally got things right, but yeah. So these constant hammering away at these, it's so obviously racist, homophobic kinds of misogynistic narratives is just astonishing. And because of how many people just swallow it whole. You wonder how so many Americans became, well, insane, crazy, hateful. Fox News has been teaching them for a long time. I saw a number that just blew me away. Speaking of veterans, service members, violence, war. Since 9/11, 4 times, this is hard to believe, 4 times as many American service members have taken their own lives than died in combat. 4 times as many killed themselves.
Yep.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
It's what happens when you have a system that, by policy, refused to admit the existence of things like PTSD until very, very recently.
And even then, obviously, don't, I think, necessarily know how to treat it.
Know how to treat it well, or have access to enough shrinks.
Right. We don't treat mental issues. And they're killing more people than our ill-gotten wars. Right.
And it's also a culture that views that kind of illness as it's shameful. It just means that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you're sick.
So,
which, by the way, is not true.
No, that number, that fact should be uppermost in anyone's mind who has a kid or a friend or a sibling or anybody who says they want to join the military. I mean, going in, I would want people to be aware that this is exceedingly dangerous and not in the way you think.
Yeah, there's all sorts of hidden risks and not so hidden risks. This one's pretty obvious.
4 times.
Well, and it also speaks to the fact that they all have the means to do it so easily.
They have the guns. Yeah, right. Oh my God.
So, I mean, that statistic does go hand in hand with the increasing availability of guns. And if you cross-check that statistic against the suicide rate committed by handguns, you'll probably track them pretty closely.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Really extraordinary. Well, I've been loath to get into this because it seems, it initially seemed such a complicated story, but after a while, not so much. And that has to do with this latest allegation of a extraordinary ethical breach at our Supreme Court. And the guy
I didn't.
The guy who blew the whistle, it's so unlikely. And I'm more fascinated now by this guy than anything. He's a minister, evangelical. His name is Robert L. Schenck. And he, most of his life, has been one of those culture anti-abortion warriors who left no stone unturned. I mean, who just got up every morning to figure out how to make abortion unavailable. And he involved himself in a scheme to influence the conservative members of the court. He even went and bought a building across the street from the Supreme Court for easy access. And then he pulls in rich donor types who share his political feelings. And then he has them ingratiate themselves with members of the court. Now, how do you do that? Well, it turns out there's this thing called the Supreme Court Historical Fund or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they raise money to make sure that the court's history is documented and who knows what. And he would have these rich people, including himself, give a lot of money and then go to these events at which the Supreme Court people are there, where they can be lobbied, essentially, and befriended. And that is what he says happened in the one case when Justice Alito and his wife were at dinner with one of these couples. And this was right before the Hobby Lobby thing came out. Hobby Lobby being that if you're a Christian, you don't have to, and you have a business, you don't have to provide
birth control.
I guess birth control.
Yeah,
that was it. Birth control. Yeah. Okay. And what he was always after was information beforehand, so he could then weaponize it, be ready. And damn, the woman who gave the party, I mean, the dinner, calls him and says, or emails him and says, boy, do I have news for you, but not on email. Give me a call. And then she tells him, Hobby Lobby's coming down, and it's coming down on our side, and Alito's writing the opinion. So this was a leak before the leak about Roe. Also, a case heard, penned by Alito.
And I still stand by my theory that was released by the right to let off the steam of the decision.
No, and to prevent Roberts, who was desperately trying to seal it in so that Roberts couldn't dilute it. These guys are, I mean, the unethical dealings. In both cases, these are Alito's cases. He writes the case. Both now having been leaked. Alito has been flushed out in the last day or two to say, of course, that this is a lie.
Yes, I deny it. I absolutely deny it.
The New York Times has said that everything, and they have done like really heavy duty looking into everything that this Reverend Schenck is saying. And it looks like
it's true to a T and a dot of an I.
So here we have a court that is out of control and in the hands of these religious zealots. And the question is, what the hell do we do about it? Schenck, by the way, you see, this reverend who blew the whistle, unbelievably, you could say, how did he end up blowing the whistle? After the Roe v. Wade thing, he knew that Roberts had called for an investigation into that leak. He sent Roberts a letter detailing what had happened before. And Roberts never responded to him.
Huh.
And he did it because at some point, and this is unclear to me, and this is what I want to know more of, he had a change of heart. About abortion.
Though?
About abortion.
Oh, somebody he knew needed one.
Well, I don't know. This is what I want to know more about. What could? He saw the harm being done to living humans. And I'm not sure, but this guy, for somebody to have spent their life, their money, their energies, everything so passionately on one side, to flip like that is mind-blowing. Now, the thing is, the justices of the Supreme Court are bound by absolutely no
code of ethics.
There's not a single thing that they have to adhere to. And it used to kind of work. But it sure as hell doesn't anymore. Because we got people here who are not honorable.
Yeah, I think it didn't occur to them that gentlemen would not be, what they perceived as gentlemen would, when placed in a position of such responsibility, wouldn't rise to the occasion.
You know what else is I want to know is since Robert said they were looking into the leak of the Dobbs decision.
Where did he look?
Nothing's been heard.
Right.
Yeah, nothing's been heard. And a lot of journalists have been querying the court what is going on with that investigation. And they are absolutely being stonewalled. They're not even getting a reply like, well, we're working on it. They are not getting a reply. And my guess is
they
know who leaked it.
Yeah, they know it's them, and they don't know what to do with the information. Because then it really does blow up the whole court.
Well,
which should happen.
You have, as you mentioned her before, Ginny Thomas, active in the attempt to overthrow the election. You have this kind of stuff going on. Thomas and Alito are, boy, you talk about impeachment. There are two guys who need to be shown the door. Think of the scorn that Alito has shown us. Do you remember after Dobbs, he made some speech in Italy at some convocation, some group out of Notre Dame or something, I don't know, and he mocked people like us for being horrified by his decision. He proudly talked about how even Prince Harry had something to say, even heads of state of other countries, and they're all laughing. And the thing is, Supreme Court justices didn't used to act this way.
No.
This guy is out of control. With power, with hubris, and with the knowledge that he can stay where he is as long as he can stay alive. And that is what a lot of people are saying has got to be changed.
It used to. I mean, I understand the theory that if you couldn't be threatened with your job, that you would therefore be able to decide more judiciously. But in fact, the way it's working is if you can't be threatened with your job, you're free to do whatever you damn please.
That's right. That's right.
And that's where ethics and honor come in.
That's right. And it was also to insulate them from, lobbyists and all that. There was no reason, that and it looks like that it worked pretty well, but it sure ain't working anymore. And this historical Supreme Court historical thingamajig needs to disappear, needs to go away, because there's no way that the court should be in the business of raising funds at soirees where rich people can wine and dine them. I mean, think again of, remember when Scalia died? Scalia died while on a vacation with some rich conservatives. Was it a hunting thing? And he dies in his sleep. These guys are always being wined and dined. Why should that be legal?
Well, they are allowed to have a life. They just are assumed to be, in Scalia's case, I would bet his friendship with Ruth Bader Ginsburg that she didn't find that she trusted absolutely in the integrity of his belief in what he wrote.
Well, let's hope she was right.
Well, she was wrong about a few things.
Yeah, at the founding, this was a contentious issue, and the states' constitutions often had term limits on the judiciary. They didn't go along with this, what the founding fathers did with the Supreme Court. And an article that I read in the Times, it says here that the Pennsylvania's constitution in 1776 absolutely refused to have lifetime tenure for the judiciary because they said could create an inconvenient aristocracy of entrenched officials. That is correct. So there needs to be term limits. There needs to be something. And apparently most Americans do support some kind of Supreme Court term limit. I mean, at the very least, how about making them subject to the same code of ethics
that everybody else
federal judge? I mean, every other federal judge sitting on a very high court, but a little bit below that Supreme one, does have a code of ethics to abide by. Why should the Supreme Court be different? There is no one in control of that court.
Well, yeah, but the problem is the only way they get one is if they impose it on themselves.
Well, you could, for instance, there could be a legislative effort, but yes, it would end up before the Supreme Court.
Yes, it would.
This is the problem. We've got a court in which Clarence Thomas refuses to recuse himself from cases in which we now know his wife was actively involved. They are in a position.
They don't discuss these things.
Yeah, right. I just
makes them wonder what they talk about.
I assure you, this is what they talk about. They're zealots. They are true zealots. So I just I'm blown away. If you haven't read this long piece in the Times about the Supreme Court leak before Dobbs, it's the kind of piece that'll end up winning a Pulitzer. I mean, it is that carefully researched, and this is the one that Schenck, this Reverend Schenck, who has all kinds of emails to buttress everything he's saying about that leak from either Alito or his wife. It is unclear, but it was to this couple from Ohio, and what she was told proved to be correct, but she knew of it 3 weeks before. And I mean, here's a guy who actively recruited wealthy people and tried to get them to invite the justices to meals, to their vacation homes, this to contribute money to the Historical Society, to mingle with them, and all for a purpose. They were unpaid lobbyists. Now, it says here, he has shifted his views, Schenck. This is the only thing that the article says. In recent years, and he has alienated himself, you can bet, from his former associates. And he says his decision to speak out stems from his regret about the actions that he claims led to a lot of what's happened since. He says what we did was wrong. But yeah, it doesn't go out of the way to explain how he came around. It's just mind-blowing. This whole thing is mind-blowing, and I would seek it out if you are willing to do a long read. Former anti-abortion leader alleges another Supreme Court breach, and that's November 19, New York Times. The kind of story that is too complicated for most people to be interested in. And that too gives cover to those who would subvert our government. Too bad.
Yeah, well, what's really too bad is how many of them there are. One more eager than the next to show how willing to make a total ass out of himself he is, or she is.
Well, it's interesting though. So you would think that after this brushback in the midterms that the Republicans suffered, that they would be
chastened,
maybe a slightly chastened. And instead, look at this. Look at what they're planning.
But Hunter Biden.
It turns out, Hunter Biden, I guess, along with Randy Weingarten, are the two most dangerous people in the world. Hunter effing Biden.
What I don't get is how, and this is, and it explains actually why the second Republican said what he said, because I was going, what business is it of Congress what Hunter Biden does? That's a job for law enforcement if there's an issue, not for Congress. So then the second Republican says, "Now I want to make clear we are looking at Joe Biden and how he figured into the family enterprises because they don't have any."
No, they have nothing.
They have no right to be going after a private citizen.
Yeah, but they don't need to. They don't need to. Here's what Republicans do. They don't need any facts. They don't need.
Well, he might have done all sorts of inappropriate stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. What they need to do, though, is constantly create outrage that Fox News and their right-wing media universe will stir up and keep their base in a high state of a dudgeon, knowing who the enemy is. And it is like, you look at a lot of the times that they've gone off like this and nothing. They found nothing. Do you know how many hearings they held on Benghazi? Remember that?
Oh, yeah. They're going to do that's going to come up again.
Or here we go, around and around and around, and nothing ever comes of it because there's no there. And so you give Republicans power, and this is what they do. Are they doing anything about inflation? Are they doing anything about the border? Are they all the things they supposedly cared about? No. Hunter Biden. Unbelievable. This is why
my apologies to women everywhere, but this brand of Republicans reminds me of the really nasty, awful girls in middle school. Not even the ones in high school, the less formed ones.
I don't know what you're thinking about exactly.
There's just a group, it's
mean.
Just mean.
Mean
that gets joy out of mean.
Well, I see Musk has given Marjorie Taylor Greene her Twitter feed,
oh, good.
Back.
Has Boebert won yet?
Yes, Boebert has won. Squeaked by, and these horrible women, horrible humans, unfrigging believable.
Yep.
Okay. So let me see something else I have here. This is sort of interesting news. It was in the Times today about how, for the moment, there are more women in the New York Philharmonic than men. That's never happened before.
Yeah, it used to be all men.
In 180-year history, it was all men till well into the 20th century. And maybe there was a woman here or a woman there. But no. And the reason this was able to finally happen is because when they audition now, they're blind auditions. The musician is behind a screen. So whoever's deciding who the best is doesn't know if it's a man, a woman, a black, a white, or anything. They're just hearing the music. And, but it's still, I mean, the article, if these things, it's like, yay! And then you read further and you find out that, yeah, but they're not in the highest paying positions. The men still have all the positions that pay more. And they don't lead orchestras, and they don't, they're not in the men still hang on to the more lucrative positions. Big shock.
Yeah.
So now I saw this article. It just blew me away. I got to share it with you. And it's the Labor Department finding a meat packing company. It's not the company itself. It's the company hired that comes. You can imagine what a job this is. It's a sanitation company that is hired by meat packers that come in every night and clean the gore.
Right.
Can you imagine that job? Turns out one of the big companies that does that is based in Wisconsin. And it provides these workers at slaughterhouses, meat packing plants all over the country. It's called Packers, and it's in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And the Labor Department found that this company had at least 31 children on its payroll.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
31 children, some as young as 13 years of age. These are kids that are cleaning the killing floors, the bone cutting saws, the grinding machines, boys and girls. And this should not surprise you, many of whom did not speak English. You know how they finally got caught? Because some of the kids, one of the 13-year-olds, suffered caustic chemical burns, a lot of injuries from the machinery for cutting the meat. The Labor Department said there was a 14-year-old who worked from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. 6 days a week, and then went to school.
Oh, God.
Do you believe that in this country, in this time,
in this state?
In this state, can you believe it? I hope how do you...
So what do they do? They fine them a few $100s? Why isn't somebody in jail?
I don't know. The Labor Department began investigating Packers in August when a local law enforcement agency alerted them. They conducted surveillance. They issued warrants, subpoenaed school records, and who knows what. I don't know what ends up happening. This is obvious violation of all kinds of federal laws. I mean, child labor, geez, God, child labor rules prohibit minors under 14 from working. Prohibit 14 and 15-year-olds from working later than 9 p.m. over the summer, past 7 p.m. during the school year. I bet these laws are being broken left, right, and
well, of course they are.
Center.
Of course they are, but this is extreme.
Well, look, all I know is, and then all the meat packers have come out and said, we had absolutely no idea. Well, so, and the company itself says, we have an absolute company-wide prohibition against the employment of anyone under 18. Sure.
It's the kids' fault. They lied in Spanish.
Yes. And the Labor Department says that this company is not cooperating with their investigation. You're damn right. People should be jailed. Or is this considered white-collar crime when little children are sent in to clean killing floors and little migrant children, little illegal aliens?
I wonder if Ron Johnson owns them.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Senator Johnson is very upset about this because here is a government agency trying to regulate private enterprise. I'm sure the Republicans will be up in arms and, as usual, on the wrong side. Oh, well, okay. Hey, did you happen to see, and this is so old, I'm getting rid of like old stuff here. Remember there was an obit maybe about a month or 2 months ago, Sasheen Littlefeather?
Yes, the Marlon Brando
yes.
refusal to accept award speech. For
The Godfather.
Yeah.
So when he won for The Godfather, the Academy Award, he refused to go, but he sent this young, she was 21, beautiful young Native American up to refuse on his behalf. I don't think she took the statue. I think he was saying,
yeah, no, she didn't take the statue.
Right. He sent her. The more I think about it, the more disgusting it is. He sent her to do something that would take a lot of courage and know that all hell's about to break loose. So he sent this woman. And over time, totally determined her life. But she died this year. Well, damn if there's not a rest of the story that's come out.
Which always cracks me up, the rest of the stories.
Yeah.
Let's start with who her sisters say she is.
That is correct. Oh, no, they're not going to open this. I can't open it. But yeah, the rest of the story is her sisters. Why they didn't say anything ever until she was dead? Interesting. They came forward and said, there's no more Native American blood in her or us than
Yeah, we're Italian.
They were, I think, Mexican.
Yeah, they were
mostly Mexican.
Yeah.
That he was it was a fraud. It was, and something that she was able to obviously use to her benefit. But my God. And I believe a lot of, obviously she became somebody who reporters wrote a lot about. And it's fascinating that nobody ever.
No, the Academy even apologized to her.
They took them her whole lifetime. They apologized like this year or last year.
Right. I just think it's funny, but they apologized to someone that was having one on them.
Well, but the thing is with people like this, I am willing to bet that she came to believe it herself. Right?
Well, it's like that white woman that claimed that she was black and taught African American studies until she got outed.
Right. There's a lot of these people. And they find them all the time in academia, people in these departments who turn out to be, usurpers of Native American status or Black status. And then, but it would seem that's something that could be pretty easily.
Well, in these days, it's pretty easily shown because of the prevalence of DNA testing.
Right, but also tribes have
registries, and she was never registered
she was
anywhere.
Never on any. And yet, when she was interviewed, she would talk about specific tribes. Where were the reporters who ever went to the tribes and said, so tell us about her? There was nothing. And then on top of it, she'd concocted all these stories about her father being a violent drunk, which added to the,
Of course he was. He was Native American, therefore.
Native American, and of course he was a violent drunk. And unbelievable. What I find so much of it confusing. Like, why would her family keep quiet? Why would her?
Well, she might have been making it and making a living in Hollywood with this story. None of their business. Well, they just stayed out of it.
No. Well, then why was it their business after she was dead? I don't understand it.
No, I don't get it, but there it is.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, a lot of, again, people behaving badly. But she pulled it off in that she lived the whole time she was alive. She pulled it off. I cannot imagine.
Very exhausting.
I mean, a kind of sort of mental, emotional.
And frankly, the only way that you can live that way for that long is to give yourself over to totally believing it, or you'd goof.
Yeah, I would think so too. You'd have to buy into it. Okay, I got one more thing here, apropos of absolutely nothing, but it I thought was really a good idea. It's something France is doing, and they have mandated that all existing parking lots with the capacity of 80 or more spaces. Okay, so imagine that'd be a pretty big lot.
That's a pretty big lot if it's just a surface lot. Yeah.
Yeah. That within 5 years, all of those lots must have a solar roof installed.
Absolutely.
So what they are saying is, if you're going to take this, on top of it, blacktop, and, this land and put cars on it, all of which are fucking up the environment, then you're going to have to stick solar panels on top. And the French are saying that they figure the people who've crunched the numbers, assuming that the parking lot people actually comply, that it could generate up to the equivalent of 10 nuclear reactors in France.
Yeah, and you can do other things too. You can install urban gardens underneath that. And you can use the airspace above the cars. They are doing it in various places, but it takes a while for people to figure it out. If you go to Palm Springs, I mean, they did that years ago over all the high school parking lots. They covered them, which protected the cars from the horrifying sun anyway, and then they put solar panels on.
Yeah, and now you know what Palm Springs should do? Stop watering all their golf courses.
Yeah, they should, but
they're golf courses. That is, I don't know.
No, actually, there's a more horrifying story than that. What they need to do is find the people Indians, the Native Americans, and the African Americans that they burned out of downtown Palm Springs in the 50s and the 60s so that they could build hotels there, and they did that.
Oh, Susan, what is this? More critical race theory shit? Honest to Pete, you trying to make us not love our country?
No, actually, Lucille Ball's maid lived in one of the houses, came home one day, and it was gone.
Oh, God. Okay, so listen, that's it. We're done.
Okay, would you do me a favor? Would you?
I will.
Okay.
And yeah. So, guys, have a great Thanksgiving. And I'll see you again on Monday.
Okay. Safe travels, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Happy does not connote. Just doesn't dovetail with traveling. So,
Well. Good luck.
I saw a picture taken at one of the gates of the Pittsburgh airport yesterday, and it was like a mob scene, and I didn't see anyone wearing a mask. Well, and that's where I'm heading.
You wear a mask.
I'm heading into it, and I'm wearing a mask. Jeez. Hey.
All right. Well, my grandchildren are going to be here, and they all have runny noses and coughs.
Oh, no. I was thinking of that. Those little vectors. Tell them to stay away from me.
You're only overlapping by a day. So.
It doesn't matter. There's little germs all over the friggin' house. God dang it.
Those pesky children. Okay.
All right.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Goodbye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.